Podcast 888. You want more?
And welcome everyone to the MyMac.com podcast. And I'm here with Gaz. And Gaz, when it comes to upgradability, Apple's devices going well into the Intel years have not exactly been the best examples. Even the simple things like RAM and storage has been missing from most of Apple's lineups for many, many years. And looking forward into the M processor years, that isn't likely to change very much. And there are some very good, if not extremely frustrating reasons why. How are you today, sir?
I am super, actually. For the folks listening and watching, Guy sent me a text and asking whether we were going to be podding today or tomorrow. Today is Saturday. I received that text on my watch, and a try had just been scored, and I was wandering back. I was just walking back after they'd scored the conversion or point after. Like you do in American football. And as I was walking back, my watch went ping. So I looked at my watch and saw the question from Guy and quickly scribed out today. And that's all Guy got. And I think I then had to respond after the match, which was probably about a good hour and a bit later, to say apologies for my short prompt reply, Guy. But I was walking back to the center field while I was doing a game. So, but that's technology these days, isn't it?
It is. The fact that you couldn't even send a reply at all from the pitch.
The fact that I saw your message was just,
amazing.
Incredible.
So I do have one question.
Go on.
Why is it called a try when it was successful? Wouldn't that be
no. The reason is because you never used to get as many points for doing the action of putting the ball on the ground as you did when you scored the points of the kick through the goal. And the try was called a try because the try gave you the try to kick at goal and get even more points. But now the try is more valuable than the kick through the posts. So it's changed. But the initial reason for calling it as a try was because you then got a try at goal.
Okay. Well, it just seems to me it'd be like, yay, we scored our try. It's like, yeah,
and,
sure.
It's history. Let's move on.
Okay. Well,
I'm going to check, we scored a touchdown. No, we're not going to call it a touchdown. Because, okay, let me ask you this question then. Why do you call it a touchdown? Because you don't actually touch it down.
Well, they always do. They slam the ball to the ground. Mostly.
But they don't.
And then
you don't have to score. You don't have to score by actually touching it down, but it's called a touchdown. So I'll bat the ball back in your court.
Sorry, try is just more confusing. That's how that works. If you succeed in a try, it's a do. So that was my point.
No, if you succeed in the try, it's a did.
Yes, it's past tense.
But
it's a pronoun that's lost its amateur status. I don't know.
That was the reason. It was because then you got to try at kicking at goal.
Okay. Well, I should say I'm sorry about last week, folks, but I was down with the sickness. Not COVID. Just a general feel like crap.
Not COVID.
Yeah, I actually did not take a test because we have two tests that we've gotten from the government. You send your name and stuff into the post office, and then they say, "Oh, okay," and they send you back a couple of COVID tests. But I wasn't, to me, it's like if you get COVID, you should just be like, so I just didn't feel bad enough.
No, but
to use my one.
We don't want to go down that very dark avenue. We've been there for 2 years. Let's not go down and revisit it.
Okay. Well, I still have a little bit of congestion and a little bit of a cough, but the worst is behind me. And to right a terrible, terrible wrong, the PayPal person whose name I had a senior moment with is Christopher, and I hope I'm pronouncing your last name right, Trush. And To be fair, I did remember the first name. I did say Christopher, who noted that his donation was for an unhealthy microphone habit. And yes, that's very true. I have not just a habit, an obsession. I have an obsession for whatever reason about microphones. And lastly, Gaz, I have found the most delicious hot beverage without caffeine ever. And I cannot tell you what the name of it is. Not because it's a secret, but because the writing on the packaging is Korean. So it's like, I don't know what this says.
Why don't you hold your phone up to it and see if it can understand
because
the wording?
That would make sense.
Sorry, I forgot. Yes, sorry.
Goodness sakes.
My word, that was how stupid of me.
So, what this stuff is, what it looks like. Have you ever had like orange marmalade or something like that?
Well, I'm English. Of course I've had orange marmalade. Well, my dear lovely Mrs. G has made marmalade, for heaven's sake. Okay.
It kind of looks like orange marmalade, and it's got, like with most marmalades, it's got some of the rind and stuff that's
okay, I hope it's not got the same viscosity as marmalade.
It kind of does.
Oh dear.
Kind of does. But then it's also infused with honey. So yeah. So
does
what
it creep? Does it creep down the back of your throat?
No. Actually, you get some really, really hot water. You put like a heaping spoonful of this stuff in the hot water.
Right.
Stir it up.
I see.
It's got this delicious like citrus like flavor with it, but it's slightly sweet with the honey. And at the end of it, you've got some stuff down there at the bottom that you just kind of slurp down when you're done with it. Yeah. It's so good. We had, and you obviously.
I used to get that. I used to get that with Bovril. So but when you drink, but you'd put loads of spoonfuls of Bovril in, and at the bottom there always used to be those bits, and they were always the tastiest bits as well.
Yeah, but this is really quite good stuff, and this is mostly an audio podcast, so people that are only listening to the audio won't see this. But the jar that it came in is like about this big. It's about like
4 inches tall.
Oh, bigger, probably like 6 inches tall. Okay. It's huge. And the only reason why we had it was a friend of my wife.
Sorry, for those not watching, that's my fault for saying 4 inches. What I forgot was that guy's so big, when he physically shows like what would be 4 inches for us, seemingly looks like 4 inches, but when you actually stood next to him, it's more
like a yard.
Yeah.
It's like 3 feet. So my wife has a friend who goes on like these crazy diets. And every time she goes on one of these diets, she gets rid of like all the food she has in the house.
Right.
And for whatever reason, she had a jar of this stuff.
This dietary stuff.
And she was like, here, you take it and you and your husband eat it or whatever, Yeah. And she brought it home. And as Tracy was describing it to me, I was kind of like,
yeah.
Really? It's orange
and it's Korean.
Honey, and it's Korean? Well, that part didn't bother me. But
no, but it could
she put some in and gave it to me.
She could have had it for 3 years before.
She very well could have. But she gave.
And you're not going to know because you can't read the date on the
No, I had no idea. Though it's part of the description is in English. It's probably like one of those items that they say, okay, well, this is for our market, but we're going to make a lot of it and then ship the excess over to the United States, and we're whoever else is stupid enough to take it. So, she gives me this little bit in some hot water, and I try it, and it was like, oh, it was so good.
The angels sang.
They did, and then the absolute worst thing that could have happened, Gaz. Can you guess what that is?
You ran out.
No, worse. It ended up in the back of the refrigerator where I couldn't see it. So I forgot it was there.
Oh, my word.
I know. Isn't that terrible? And then last week, we still
No, but that's not the worst thing. No, that's not the worst thing, Guy, because actually when you then find it again, you say, oh, great.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much what did happen.
Yeah.
So last weekend when I was sick, it was like, oh, I don't want any more coffee. I wanted something hot to kind of, get things moving. And I started kind of looking around in the fridge, and I moved this one container over, And it was like, there it is.
Angel sang, his eyes lit up.
And I pretty much drank/ate the entire container in less than a week.
Right.
And so on my way back from bowling on Wednesday, and I know I'm going long and I'm really, really sorry. On my way back from bowling
this is a Mac podcast, isn't it? Yeah.
No, this is the Orange, Citron, and Honey podcast. Okay. Or at least that's the
Macalade.
Yes.
Macalade.
Yeah. So there's an Asian grocery store on my way home from bowling. So it was like, oh, please have some. Please have some. So I went there. And they did. I got another great big container for here, and then I got a smaller one for work. So now I can have delicious orange, citron, and honey Korean flavored beverage. Not that I don't know if Koreans taste like that, but it's from Korea, and it's really good, and I'm very happy. So, and I cannot tell you what the name of it is.
I think I'm gonna have to move on, aren't I?
Probably. You know what mic I'm using today?
No.
It's the Audio-Technica 2040 broadcast dynamic. I'm moving away from the orange, citron, and honey. The Audio-Technica AT2040 broadcast dynamic microphone, which is a new mic that I bought. And
really, you bought another mic?
Actually, and then I bought another mic. I haven't even tried this one.
You've got a real problem, haven't you, Guy?
I do. I have a serious problem. So this other one is the Audio-Technica, also another Audio-Technica mic, the AT2020, which I've always kind of wanted. But I went to
2020 or 2040 because you've written 2040.
Well, the 2040 is what I'm using right now.
Okay, the other one you bought.
This is a dynamic mic. The 2020 is a condenser mic.
Okay.
But I went to Micro Center to get a keyboard for the mini PC gaming box that I bought, which is a whole nother thing. And I was talking to this guy there, and he started talking about audio, and I was like, "Really?
No.
Oh, I know something about audio." So we go over to the
hang
section.
Hang on a minute.
Yeah, it was
when you said when you said I know something about audio.
Yeah, I lied.
Yeah,
I pretend to know something about audio, and they had it on sale. It was like $15 off. So. Not that I needed another microphone, and I saved money by buying that microphone.
You're mental. You're mental. I mean, it's just when you get onto
wirelessly
connected mics that I'm going to be concerned as well. Then, so anyway, can we move on?
Funny you should ask, but no.
I'm going to move on to Gaz's snippet. Okay, so we've got a couple of weeks worth. There's not too many though. The news was quite busy, but I'll whip through these as quickly as I can. Okay, apparently the Apple Watch dominates the global smartwatch market.
Duh.
Duh. I mean, duh.
Thank goodness an analyst somewhere had the time to write that statement.
Okay, Apple
now
has
the whole world knows.
Apple has released Mac OS Monterey 12.3 with universal control. I haven't really used that yet. I don't know if you have. And Apple has released 15.4 and iPad OS 15.4. They also released watchOS 8.5, tvOS 15.4, and HomePod 15.4. Now, for the first time, Apple are selling the iPhone 12 Pro via the official Refurb store. Apple Watch firmware can now be restored from an iPhone running iOS 15.4. So those updates given that capability. That's good. Apple has fixed the mail privacy protection privacy failure in mail on the Apple Watch. Shall I read that again? Apple fixes mail privacy protection privacy failure in mail on Apple Watch.
So they fixed the failure that failed and now it's fixed.
Yeah.
I don't know who worded that statement,
but
they really, really shouldn't be allowed anywhere near a word processor.
I just had to read it because I thought, oh, they fixed the mail
still
privacy.
don't know what's happened. There was a thing that happened.
There was a thing that's broken and fixed it.
Maybe.
Apple Pay is now in Argentina and Peru, and it's coming soon to Chile or Chile.
If you're from France, you say Chile.
Yeah. OWC has apparently undercut Apple with a new Thunderbolt 4 cable starting at $24. Guy, they could have put any price on it and undercut Apple. I mean, Apple cables are really rather expensive. So
yeah, that's like not something to super brag about. You know?
No. Well, I don't think I'd be fair.
I'm selling a commodity product for less than what Apple sells.
Shocker!
How did I do it?
Yeah, to give OWC a bit of a fair shout here. They weren't advertising this. This was obviously one of the magazines that's put it out there. Yeah. One of the Apple magazines that should know better, by the way.
Well, they failed at fixing the failure.
Apple will soon require developers to submit apps to the App Store using Xcode 13. Apple, over a week ago, sent a reminder to developers about an upcoming change to the requirements for submitting apps to the App Store starting on April 25th. All apps created for Apple's platform must be built with Xcode 13. There you go.
Okay.
Apparently,
seems like that could be a problem.
I haven't read much more into the. Yeah.
Don't. These are snippets, and I'll shut up now.
Yes, please. Apple, you're going to say something about this, I know. Apple Park briefly evacuated over an envelope with white powder substance.
It's California. It could be almost anything.
Apple back.
Plus, how many people are actually in that building right now? It's like, all right, you out. Let's go. Yeah. The whole place is empty.
Apple-backed lobbying group accused of pushing for weak privacy legislation. A lobbying group whose members include Apple and Google is being accused of pushing for weak privacy legislation. Yeah, I wonder who's pushing this agenda.
Who's pushing for? Wait a minute. They're saying that Apple and Google are pushing to weaken.
Yes. So think about this. This is very clever. What they're trying to say is that Apple and Google are saying that they want weaker legislation. So tell us that actually we know how it should be as long as there's a back door for us.
Okay. So see, now it makes sense. They're pushing for weaker legislation, not weaker encryption. So that's kind of, I think, the takeoff that a lot of people will get from it. And maybe that's intentional.
Maybe.
Those assholes.
God. Oh, that was a how-to. I was going to show that, but I didn't get back to it. I'll leave that for next week or the week after, or perhaps never. 5G.
You'll never know.
No, you won't, because I'm not going to tell you. 5G iPhone SE shipments expected to reach up to 30 million units this year. Apple promises software update to improve Studio Display's lackluster webcam. I mean, there's a whole operating system in this damn.
Yeah.
I mean, for heaven's sake.
And a freaking A15 processor. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, we've got this great camera in it, but the software for it sucks. It's okay. It only cost you $1,600. So,
Well, it's cheaper than they'd normally sell it for. So that's, the Connectivity Standards Alliance, the CSA, which includes Apple, Samsung, Google, Amazon, and others, today announced the launch of the Matter Smart Home Standard has been delayed until after the fall of 2022. And that's not the first delay it's had. It's been delayed again. So that's a shame because we want to get that sorted.
They're waiting for everybody to forget what it even means.
LG's ultrafine 5K display will be returning as an alternative to Apple's Studio Display. Is that a surprise? Not really.
Any display is an alternative to another display.
Yes, but the LG one is the 5K one. That's where they're coming from on that, because that's the one that they used to use, isn't it? So, come on, keep up with the game, guy.
I'm trying. I'm trying.
how a gifted Apple Watch and fall detection led doctors to discover a mother's lung cancer. You know, they really are pushing the boat out with some of these links to health, aren't they? I mean, come on. Come on, folks. Get a grip.
How the Apple's fall detection somehow found halitosis in a badger. Filmed at 11.
Well, there's a very good reason for that. Because what happened was the person fell over, and it sent out an alarm to say this person's fallen over. That person arrived and tried to give them mouth-to-mouth resuscitation and went, "Oh, you've got bad halitosis.
Your breath smells like a badger."
A badger? Okay. Apple
and
iPhone
not from Wisconsin.
Apple iPhone dominates. Apple iPhone dominates North America and Western Europe. Come on! What? Is this all you can give me? I mean, I was really struggling last week. I should have taken that out, if I'm honest. Apple Studio Display runs the full version of iOS 15.4, apparently.
What?
The Studio.
That makes no sense. No, I get it. The Studio Display has an A15.
And it runs...
They can put iOS in it, but it, other than
running
the microphone and the camera...
Yeah, but apparently it runs the full version of iOS 15.4.
Yeah, but it's not like you're going to play Angry Birds on it or something all by itself. Let me turn off the Mac so that I can play stupid zombies games on my display. All right, I'll shut up.
I'm just giving you the information, Guy, because these are snippets. You sometimes seem to want to take this to an nth degree, and I really would appreciate it if you didn't.
Well, I'm sure after you telling me that, I won't ever do it again.
Correct. Former Apple employee faces federal charges after allegedly defrauding the company out of millions of dollars.
Oh, was that related to the iPod replacement scheme, or there was like... Yeah, that's like old.
Is it?
I think so.
Well, this is a fairly... Yes, okay. So he worked for Apple between December 2008 and 2018, and was a buyer in the Cupertino-based company's global service supply chain. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that. It's supposed to be a snippet.
He's a bad boy.
It's supposed to be a snippet, and I told you off for elongating it. And now I'm doing the same thing.
Yeah, and I had absolutely nothing to do with that happening.
More Apple M1 Ultra benchmarks show it doesn't beat the best GPUs from NVIDIA and AMD. No, it may not in some cases, but put it together with any other combination of Mac of PC, and you'll find it probably gets stripped naked. This is an opinion from who's this from? Actually,
Mark. I've seen a lot of stories along this. Apple lied. They said blah 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 when it was really blah blah. It's like, for God's sake, it's an integrated GPU into an ARM CPU. Is it going to beat a multi-threaded i9 with an NVIDIA goddamn graphics card with 32 gigs of RAM? Probably not. But it does okay with a much less power consumption rate all on its own.
This is an opinion piece from Mark Gurman. Apple should return to...
by me.
Can you let me finish?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Because I'm trying to move on. This is an opinion piece from Mark Gurman. Apple should return to making modern airport Wi-Fi routers, and I agree with him.
Yeah.
Apple has teamed up with Alaska Airlines to distribute iPad Pros for check-in stations. Whoopee-doo. Do you know, if they're using iPad Pros for check-in stations, I think that's really overkill.
It is. That's actually quite wasteful. You could get by with just a regular iPad or iPad Air.
Going back to the previous story that I mentioned about the Apple Studio Display being able to run iOS, it also contains 64 gigabytes of storage. Now, were you affected last week? I know I was for a very short period. Apple finally resolved a widespread service outage. I believe I saw you make a note, something on Facebook.
Yeah, well,
or twat face, as my wife calls it.
It wasn't just Apple. At like right around that same period of time, where I work, we were having problems with Microsoft Office. And it was why isn't anything working?
It was those damn Ruskies trying to get their own back.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me, but I haven't heard anything one way or the other, except for a lot of speculation.
You'll like this one. Apple fined for a 9th time as it submits new proposals in the Dutch antitrust case. They've now been fined a total of 45 or almost $50 million, Guy.
Yeah, I've read it. I did see a story that the EU is like, well, apparently these fines just aren't really affecting them. It's like, well, let's see. Apple makes about $4,000 a second. So, yeah.
Yeah, but to be fair, they've obviously also got to offset the profits that they're making in Holland against the fines that they're getting there. That they may be making an awful lot around the world, but really Holland will be its own entity in terms of making money. So if you think Holland alone is probably still, 50 million, who cares? Incredible. The Coalition for App Fairness, CAF, Guy, which is primarily a voice for Epic Games, Spotify, and Tinder parent company Match, in their antitrust fight with Apple over App Store commissions, has lost a second key figure. Oh, dear. I really don't think that's gone very well for them, do you?
No. I'm just kind of surprised that Tim Strudel, what's his name? From
Apple Strudel.
Yeah, Apple. No, the guy from the game company that's been like.
Hang on a minute. Let's see if I can find him in.
His name isn't Tim Strudel. For whatever reason, that's how I'm thinking of him.
Greetings, Tim the Enchanter.
Yeah.
There are some who call me Tim.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those Tims. Not our Tim. Our Tim is not Tim.
Yeah.
We like our Tim. We don't like that Tim Strudel guy.
Tim Strudel.
What's his name?
I don't care.
Tim Sweeney.
I don't care. No, see, that's boring now. It would have been better if we hadn't named
left
him.
it at Tim Strudel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone, his name is now Tim Strudel. Forever.
Right, this is comedy, folks. It's as good as you're going to get. Okay. Apple.
Tip your bartenders and waitresses.
Apple have been hit with an antitrust lawsuit over locked down Apple Watch heart rate sensor.
Okay.
US judge ruled that Apple must face claims it bars third-party Apple Watch heart rate apps. I think that might have been connected with the antitrust one that I've just come through. Apple has settled a long-running patent dispute over the iPhone LTE tech. Well done. 45 years at Apple for employee number 8. Now, I've got his name here, but I'm not going to tell you it because I prefer employee number 8. This is good news for us over here in the old UK. Apparently, Apple Card may be on the way as Apple buys a British credit checking company. So at last, maybe. And that, I think, is a company called Credit Kudos, for those who want to know. iFixit have teared down the Mac Studio and the Studio Display. What a waste. That's all I'm going to say there.
That's what they do.
Apple, well, they always do it, don't they? Apple has now stopped signing iOS 15.3.1 and blocking downgrades from iOS 15.4.
Like, I'm just picturing some guy at Apple going, can I stop signing this, please? My hand hurts.
And I was going to bring this up in Gaz's link, but I'm going to bring it up now because, we spoke about the outage that Apple had. Well, we think that was bad because it happened perhaps for a few hours. There's an IT outage at Scotland's Heriot-Watt University, which has entered its second week.
Wow.
Now, that's probably because they've been attacked, but, just think how lucky you are, folks.
Why would, this isn't like the 13th century. Why would anybody attack Scotland?
Well, obviously, there's some very intelligent people and very good information at the Heriot-Watt University.
Well, I know they got a great football team, but hey,
Well, a lot in Scotland would like you to say that they've got a great football team. I'm not quite so sure that they have, but I am now going to get hit down by Mac Jim.
He will come up again later today.
He will. Users have reported that external monitor issues after updating to macOS Monterey 12.3. Well, I've not seen that, and I've got an external monitor, and I've updated, so bar sucks to you.
Actually, I have a friend who just recently bought an M1 Mac Mini with dual monitors, and it keeps losing which one is the primary monitor. And I haven't had a chance to go into it deeply with him, but I wonder if it's related.
Possibly. I'm glad that I haven't got it because it would be a real pain
too.
if I get it. iCloud class action lawsuit sees Apple agree to pay $14.8 million to paid tier subscribers. An iCloud class action lawsuit has been settled out of court, with Apple agreeing to pay a total of $14.8 million to US residents subscribing to one of the paid storage tiers during a specific time period.
Yeah, obviously Apple is doomed losing $14 million.
EU legislation to make iMessage and other messaging apps interoperable. Well, that's going to go well. Now,
I think that the person company governing body is putting at risk my ability to be able to choose a secure and reliable environment that I have chosen. So, person company governing body, if you want to play that silly game, I, along with I'm sure a lot of other people, will continue to call you nasty, horrible people for putting my security at jeopardy.
Thank you very much.
It's memorized.
That's good. Do you remember a couple of weeks ago now that I said that the HomePod Mini is now launched in Belgium and Holland?
Yes.
It's now official. It's now officially stated that they have been released in those two countries.
They couldn't get them before, is what you're saying.
No. Along with Switzerland.
That seems neutral.
The EU have provisionally agreed on a law that would force Apple to allow alternative app stores sideloading and iMessage interoperability. So not only the message interoperability, but those are the things which we really repeat that thing that you just said, but don't. Now, we are recording this on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Cook may well be on at the Oscars on Sunday, and if anything happens like Tim having to go and collect anything, we may be reporting on that next week. Or you're listening to this and going, yeah, well, I saw that in the news yesterday. Who gives up?
Yeah. You guys are lame.
Apple again are rewarding some engineers with up to $200K in stock bonuses to keep them. Apple has closed a loophole that allowed MIR cardholders to use Apple Pay in Russia. Closed. And that, guy, is the end of a rather extended Gaz's Snippets.
Duh. I mean, yes. Yeah, that's true.
They're good. Sometimes you're on the ball, aren't you?
Yeah, not often. Not often enough.
Would you like to take us out? And
I will.
Did you note that in my piece I didn't mention MyMac?
Oh.
Well done.
It actually took me a minute. It was like...
Yeah. Your brain had to compute then, didn't it?
Yeah. And that's a lot harder than it used to be because I don't have upgradable RAM in my head.
True. And I'm gonna
about not my head, but
no, I'm gonna mess with you and even more now.
His name is Guy.
Take us out. Take us out.
Oh, you.
Take us out.
Everyone. Wait, hold on. Be quiet, Cat.
Yes,
God.
Cat.
What is wrong with her? She wants in, and I'm not going to let her in. No fooling. Everyone stand by, and we'll be, without the cat, right back.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to, part deux. Yes, not 19, it's deux. Part 2 of this week's MyMac podcast. And we have made it to the second section. And boy, is this going to be a cracker. I tell you what, our second sections recently have been absolute crackers, especially last week's.
Oh, it was great last week.
Just fantastic.
I have had so many people come up and go,
yeah, for those listening, Guy had a quizzical look at me in the camera.
So you should go to the YouTube channel.
No, don't do it. You really don't want to sit and watch us, folks. You really don't.
You do. You miss the nuances of our performance.
The nuances.
Doing this show. Some variation of that number of fingers. Dealing with Apple in regards to upgrading your Mac can be an exercise in frustration. If you didn't order your computer with as much RAM or storage as you now need as compared to before, you're kind of hosed. And so far, the Mac M1 variants are difficult to get into the guts of. And even if you manage it, the best you can do in most cases is admire Apple's industrial design before closing the lid. Well, the G-Men are here to tell you that we have discovered a way to add more RAM and internal storage to your Mac easily and with very little technical knowledge required on your part.
Are we?
No, completely kidding. And much better minds than ours have set the bar ridiculously low. They've tried and failed as well. Currently, no M1 Mac is capable of having additional RAM or internal, and let me stress that, internal storage added. Perhaps the Mac Pro, when we see its M series version, will have that capability, but I wouldn't hold your breath. Now, Gaz, when it comes to upgradability with Apple's Macs, there's been a lot of different models over the years. And I really don't want to get into when each model had its moment of you can no longer do anything with this moment. So let's just talk about the last Macs upgradable by series models that are still in production, because there's no point in talking about any of the other ones. So starting off with the Mac Mini, and listen to these dates. Models prior to 2014, you could upgrade RAM and storage. 2014 and on, Intel-based Mac Minis had soldered RAM. The 2018 Mac Mini, also Intel, could not have its internal storage replaced or upgraded. So starting 4 years ago, you could no longer update a Mac Mini, Gaz. The next one, the MacBook Pro. 2015 was about the last year MacBook Pros, obviously Intel, could be upgraded. The non-Retina 2016 models had some upgradability. So we're talking 7 years ago. The MacBook Air, which originally what year did that originally come out, Gaz? 2011, 2012?
No, it was at least 2011. It might have been 2010.
Okay. Well, this model was basically the poster child for Apple's future user upgrades or lack thereof, with no user replaceable parts from the very beginning with this computer. iMacs, the 2017 iMacs were the last ones to be available for upgrades. The RAM was accessible through a bottom slot and was relatively easy to replace, but the internal storage on any Intel-based iMac requires major surgery to access and is not for the faint of heart. Now, getting on to an M series only model, the Mac Studio, which just came out, while there are some accessible slots for storage replacement or additions, a combination of hardware and software pretty much means that you can't, and you'll likely void your warranty if you try. And the very last Mac that you can purchase brand new that has some upgradability, including RAM, storage, and custom graphics cards, is the Intel Mac Pro. It won't be cheap, and the longevity of this model is questionable at best, with a new M Series Mac Pro on the horizon, likely for this year. So it has been at least 5 years since Apple has given us a Mac that was capable, not counting the Mac Pro, was capable of being upgraded. And Gaz, why do you think that Apple has fought so hard to prevent their computers from being upgraded? And do you think it was a good or a bad thing?
I don't think they've fought so hard. I think they've just done it. It's not a matter of fighting for it. They've just done it. I know their reasoning behind it. And if I'm honest, I kind of get where they're coming from on that, because if you upgrade at the start and you go, they want you to spend as much money as they can. Part of the reasoning is it makes their machines look much more reasonable at a lower cost, because you're not having to put in this extra RAM initially. Now, whether we call it the Apple tax or not, they obviously go, and I've heard this as a counterpoint to the RAM that they use from various different parties in the past, that they do use good quality RAM, which is much more expensive. They go for as good a quality as they can. If that's not the case, then let us know. But I've heard that argument that they do use good quality RAM, so you're getting good quality product, which obviously costs a little bit more. Now, from their perspective, if they just went and put as much RAM into these machines as they possibly could, that would then make them more expensive. So a lot of people then wouldn't buy them in the first place, because it could possibly put them off. So I see where they're going from that perspective. But equally, that MacBook Air that I bought, for example, is still running. What are we now? 2022, 11 years, Guy.
At least 11 years.
It's slow, but my daughter still uses it, and she's quite happy.
And you can't put the latest OS on
it. No. But that's by the by. The machine itself is still running. So from Apple's perspective, where they come from is they say, we are creating a machine that works, and we know that it works with these components for this capacity, and you don't need to upgrade it. And if you do upgrade it, you're then going to upgrade it with possibly less good or inferior quality product, which could then jeopardize the experience that you're going to have with our machine, and you will deem it to be our fault. So I kind of get those arguments. So a lot of people would say that's a load of horse manure and a load of rubbish, but actually I have seen that from other companies as well. They don't like third-party products going onto their devices because they can't guarantee it so much. The whole planet does it from company perspective. Whether it's right or wrong, I personally think that if you are careful with your third-party components, you can get equally as good a product and make sure that it still runs as well. But that's the argument that where Apple will come from, and they've put themselves into a bit of a bind because they do use high quality products, which means that if they just went out and said, here's the machine, here's the high spec that you're going to get, no one would buy it because it would cost a lot of money. But even their lower level products, i.e. the ones with less RAM and less hard drive capacity, even those generally are okay for a lot of people. They don't need to, push it up and up and up. So I kind of get where they're coming from. I don't like it either. It helps their design ethos as well. It makes sure that they keep as much control over the whole device as possible, which gives them much more quality products, and also a quality of production, which means that the machines work longer. Remember, we're always highlighting the fact that Mac products run and run and run and run and run and run and run. And when you compare them to other products, they don't. So, there's pros and cons to this from both sides. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure which side of the fence I'd come down on, because I understand both sides of the argument.
When you look at Apple's current products, for example, they just came out with a fantastic new desktop computer, the Mac Studio, and whether you get the M1 Ultra version for $4,000, or and I say this with a huge grain of salt, the mere $2,000 M1 Pro, or is it M1 Pro or M1 Pro Mac Studio. They're great computers. And was I tempted to put money down to get one? Certainly. Did I? No, because the computer I bought a year and a half ago, the initial Mac 1 Mini, 16 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte drive, and Gaz has the exact same machine, a year and a half later is still going super strong. And everything that we do with this computer, it chews it up and it spits it out.
Yeah.
Could it do it a few seconds faster if we had a low-level Mac Studio? Sure.
Of course it could. But
is it worth spending $2,000 to get that little bit of speed boost?
Not in your line, but if you was a business, maybe.
Maybe. But for people like Gaz and people like me, and probably most of the people that listen to this podcast, you don't need to go out and spend $2,000 on an M series Mac Studio, along with $1,600 to $2,000 for and granted, it's a beautiful monitor for the studio display. When for a little more than $1,000, you can get a nicely equipped M1 Mac Mini, and it will last you for years. And yeah, is the RAM upgradable in it? No. Is the storage internally upgradable? No. Can I add more storage externally? Sure. And I have a crap ton of storage connected to this thing.
Yeah. And I think that's the point, with USB-C now and Lightning 4. Is it Lightning 4? It is Lightning, isn't it?
No, Thunderbolt.
Sorry, Thunderbolt.
Yeah.
And Thunderbolt 4 now, you really don't need to have, and also, the cloud service available.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't, you could probably get away now with 512 more than any other time. You're probably likely to go for 1 terabyte, but if you went out and bought the custom, the current Mac Mini and went for 16 gigabyte and 1 terabyte, then yeah, it's actually 1,300. So it's not, still a bit, but I'll tell you what, you've got a cracking machine then. You definitely
that will last you for years.
Yeah.
And the whole thing, and are there people that still like to tinker? There's plenty of people that still like to take these things apart, see how they tick, and to try to find ways to improve the performance. But I think Apple a long time ago, instead of trying to compete with all of the people, the tinkerers out there that love to get into the guts of, their Windows PCs and make all these upgrades and all the rest of that.
And I was one of those people. I built my own PCs.
Sure. It's
and
not
put
that
it
hard.
together, and I enjoyed it. But that was really the hobbyist in me that was doing it.
Yeah.
I wasn't really doing it for gaming. I was doing it as a hobbyist to enjoy it and understand the world of computing. But now computing is a commodity.
Yeah, you just want something that works.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that going forward, Apple is not going to change their minds on this.
Definitely not.
If for whatever reason you want a computer that you can get into the guts of and make all kinds of changes, you should probably start looking at Linux and Windows computers, because this is not going to change.
Well, I'll tell you what, Guy, I think actually you're cutting yourself really down to Linux as well, because I can see Windows not really being an operating system that likes doing that. Having
probably not.
Well.
But the difference is, unlike Apple, Microsoft doesn't control their hardware.
No, that's true.
Other than the Surface devices.
That's true.
But the vast majority of Windows PCs that are sold are made by Dell and HP and Lenovo and like all these other companies. And Windows is just the OS that runs on them. Just like, one of your other choices is Linux. But for the most part, people who are buying Macs, whether by Apple's design or preference, probably shouldn't be tinkerers as far as the hardware goes, because you're looking at a very frustrating experience. So going forward, other than the Mac Pro, and we don't really know what that's going to be like yet, and unlike most events in most of Apple's hardware, I'm not going to speculate on what the Mac Pro is going to be. I think mostly just because I was so terribly wrong on the last event. It was like, Guy probably could have been more wrong, but I'm not sure how. So, but I mean, the Mac Pro is going to be a beast of a machine. If the Mac Studio is any bellwether for what the Mac Pro is going to be like, you're looking at a computer that is just going to be leaps and bounds ahead of anything on the Mac side that you probably have. Oh yeah, it's going to be costly too. Than anything you've used on a Mac side before, and chances are on most of the Windows side, outside of specifically, specialty built Windows. Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Not servers. Workstations, specialty built workstations that are basically built to do one task and one task only. But for a general purpose computer, Apple's are going to be as good or better than anything else that's out there. And this move to RISC processing has proven, at least so far, to be one of the best moves that Apple could have made.
Yep.
And that's I wasn't ready. Damn you. Damn your eyes. So could have been the best move that Apple's ever made. Oh, look, Gaz is nodding his head.
Gaz's tips. Mostly tips. Mostly Gaz's tips.
It's time for every week.
Okay, before I jump into my tip, I'm going to give Guy a tip. Okay. Guy,
yeah.
After the end of every section 2, I do Gaz's tip. Okay, just a bit of a clue there for you. All right. Do you use Spotlight to find and launch apps, Guy?
Yes.
Well, sometimes Spotlight doesn't always bring up the app straight away. I don't know if you've noticed that. And also, it'll be looking for a myriad of other items. And sometimes you have to scroll down to find the one you're looking for. Well, if you want to find your app easily and then just bring it up straight away, guess what? Press F4. And do you know what happens? Guess what comes up?
I want to try it, but I'm almost
do it. Press F4 and then start typing for the app that you're looking for. And guess what? Dashboard comes up and it'll take you straight to the app. And it's really quick. and really easy. It's a nice way rather than using Spotlight when I use Spotlight all the time just to find an app and I'll start typing the app. Well, sometimes, and then I have to scroll down, or sometimes the Spotlight doesn't find it. And there's reasons for that, for the settings, etc. But actually, if you just
it's looking for everything other than apps as well.
Correct. So if you press F4, you're into dashboard. I think it's dashboard. That is dashboard, isn't it? And you're looking through all of your apps. Mission control, launch pad. I don't know.
Yeah, it's launch mission something.
It's launch mission
something.
And it'll take you straight to your app. And also, as you're typing in there, it brings up all of the alternative apps that start with that letter. So if you remember the letter, and you've got because I've got a couple of apps which are similar in application and in naming as well. So yeah. So there you go.
Oh, more head nodding.
Hit it. That's the end of Gaz's tips. That's the end of Gaz's tips. That's the end of Gaz's tips.
Is that the end of the tip?
Will you let me finish? Gaz, you are absolutely right.
I'm sure there's another one I could throw in there eventually.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I'm going to come out with a really short tip one week, and then the intro and outro is going to be so much longer
than the actual tip.
Have you got a pick? Have you got a pick? Have you got a pick sake?
I do have a pick sake. Number one, as we've spoken the last couple of shows, make sure that you go to timeout.com's list of helpful Ukrainian donation sites. And these are all sites that you can trust and not worry about being ripped off, such as like the Ukrainian Red Cross and DuckTales without borders. I don't know why I said it like that, but I did.
Yeah, well,
there's no frontier. But I do have a pick sake that's not related to that. And it's something I had kind of forgotten was there. It's in your utilities folder, and it's called Screenshot. And not only will it do things like allow you to take a screenshot of a window of an app's particular window or of an area that you've specified, it will also let you take little movies of the things that you are doing on your computer.
Yeah.
So, you don't necessarily have to spend a lot of money to get a program that does that. Apple's Screenshot utility will let you do it, and it will let you do it for free. Now, it doesn't have all of the groovy, cool editing features that some of these other apps have, but you can kind of, trim the beginning and trim the ending of it before you push it off into some other program as part of your editing software thing. But it's a great little program, and I have now, just so I don't forget it, I put it in my dock.
I often do that as well, but the problem is your dock could get rather big. But a
little bit.
What you can do though is possibly do an alias in a folder and put it on. Anyway, that's going
true.
off. Yeah. Anyway, that's another Gaz's tip.
It is. Oh, damn.
No.
Oh, okay.
Gaz, you are absolutely right.
Yeah. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
We have a couple of the feedbacks, Gaz.
The feedbacks.
We have one from our dear friend over there in North Carolina, Greg, and here that is, and listen closely.
Tune in each week to witness a slow descent into complete and utter madness that is the MyMac Show with the G-Men.
Yeah, that's us. Descent into madness, I think.
Do you know, the thing is, a lot of these snippets that people are sending in particular, Greg, they're just truth.
Yeah, it's almost like you sit there and go, yeah. They are insane.
It's funny because it's like a realization that the listeners are trying.
And we also got something from Scottish Jim. And I know I shouldn't call him that.
No.
But that's kind of what is now stuck in my head, because
the president is an utter moron.
But it has nothing to do with the president. It has to do with me. So here's what our friend Jim from Scotland not Scottish Jim, but our friend Jim from Scotland. Mac Jim sent to us.
I'm 65 and I've got issues. It's the J-Men on MyMac Podcast show.
MyMac Podcast show. See, that encapsulates perfectly the madness that is this show. You can't just say the MyMac Podcast or the MyMac show. No. It's the podcast show episode. Or carry that on to the nth degree.
You made it worse.
I know.
Yeah, they can't just say this anymore.
MyMac Podcast.
No, there's so much more. There's so much more to the madness that is the MyMac Podcast show. So,
program.
The show program cast pod. So, if you would like to contribute for whatever reason to the show
program
podcast program, you can go to patreon.com/MacParrot. You can go to ko-fi.com/MacParrot, or like Christopher did, you can go on over to paypal.me/MacParrot. Now, guess if people wanted to contact you and say, why do you keep doing this show podcast episode thing?
Program.
How would they do that?
They'd send an email to Gaz, G-A-Z, at mymac.com, or on the Twitters, twitter.com/Gazmaz, G-A-Z-M-A-Z, or on the Twitters, twitter.com/GuyandGaz, G-U-Y-A-N-D-G-A-Z.
Cars.
Or you can send an email to feedback@mymac.com, FWDBACK at mymac.com. Okay, so
Guy says,
what does he say? I've got no idea what he says, but
pay no attention to that guy behind the
no,
curtain.
we shouldn't. Why?
He's the guy.
He's what? Well,
Guy's the one.
Absolutely.
Guy.
Stop. Yeah,
you remember?
I
Guy?
do. Yes, I do.
His name was Guy.
Uh-oh.
No fooling.
If you want,
An email from Guy.
how would they do it?
Oh, it's so easy. As I get back up close to my microphone again, you can send that to podcast at vertshark.com for an email, or guy at mymac.com, which is also an email address that you can send it to. You can find me on the Twitters. I am Mac Pettit, and I am also VertShark over there on the Twitters. How else? There's Guy's Daily Drive that I do 2 to 3 times a week in my car for reasons, with a wireless microphone now. Wireless microphone, Gaz. Going all the way back to the beginning of the show.
All the way back. Yeah, I like it.
We brought it around.
Yeah, I just realized that I've got all of those others. Now you've got Guy's Daily Drive. What I need is that's it.
Okay, yeah, that'll work. Guy's Daily Drive. There we go. Very good. And you can find all of those over on the tubes of you. Just look up VertShark and then like, share, subscribe. Do those 3 things. It's so easy. As I go out of focus. There, I'm back again. Focus. And there's also the vertshark.com website where you'll find all of the odds and vids. And I think other than that, there's the Skype telephone. Did you know we have a Skype telephone number, Gaz?
I thought you'd forgotten it. I thought you'd forgotten it.
No. I'm on top of it this week.
Nice.
This week,
yes.
Yes, we have a Skype telephone number. By God, yes, we do. And that telephone number is 1 or +1 outside of the United States, 703-436-9501. That number again is 1 or +1 outside of the United States, 703-436-9501. Or if for some reason, 0s and 1s just give you some kind of weird rash. I don't know why, but they just might. Number 1, get ointment. Number 2, go right to the Skype application and just dial 703-436-9501. 1. So you're still dialing an O and a 1.
We couldn't get it at the start. We'll get it at the end.
Remember, folks, we will always get you in the
end.
In the end. So I would like to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who, for reasons of your own, and please don't tell us, for downloading and listening to the MyMac.com podcast. It is greatly appreciated. All kidding aside, we love you for it. We love you long time for listening to this show. And Gaz, and remember, we'll get you in the end. Just for listening to the show, we'll get you in the end. I think that we're good enough, Gaz. I don't know why. I think that we're smart enough. No. And that I think that Wilf gone it. Wilf. People like us.
Sinurni pervus altigradigi la intergelenticon digai kajgaz veniam estos. That was pretty good, actually.
That was really good.
Guy.
Yes.
How do lawyers say goodbye? We'll be suing you.
Oh.
End.
So bad.
So you can all go home and there's nothing to worry about. Get out of here now. Go on. Go on home and go home. So you can all go home and there's nothing to worry about. Get out of here now. Go on. Go on home and go home.